After completing this course and reading the articles by Will Richardson and Daniel Pink, it really got me thinking about how I will implement these things into my own classroom, and I'm really excited. So the first part is that of the philosopher. So let's talk about that. So, how do these articles get you thinking about education or the role as an educator? I really enjoyed reading both of these articles. Dan Pink made me think a lot because, when I think about my kids, I'd always say we want to make them problem solvers. We want to, if they see a problem, we want to make sure they're able to solve it on their own. But in his article, he said the premium has moved from problem solving to problem finding as a skill. The phrase problem finding comes out of research of artists. It's more like a conceptual kind of skill, and that they really, our students really need to be able to figure out that there is a problem in the first place. I think that as educators and teachers, a lot of the times we go, okay, here's the problem, now solve it. And in the real world, that doesn't really happen. So that was kind of an aha moment for me reading that article, was that they need to be able to figure out when there is a problem that needs to be solved. Um, and then in Will Richardson's blog, um, I really have always thought that teachers need to teach a love of learning, and we can do that in our own, you know, modeling of solving a problem. I think that if our students see us continuing to learn, then it can kind of rub off on them. I think that most teachers are learners, even if they don't, continue their education, but you're always hopefully learning, the new curriculum and all the cutting edge things that are going to engage our students and increase their comprehension of things. So, and Will Richardson said in his blog, we can't teach kids to learn unless we are learners ourselves, and our understanding of learning has to encompass the rich, passion-based interactions that take place in these social learning spaces online. So, I really think that he was really pushing that we make our students be able to love learning. If they find something that they're passionate about, that they want to learn about, then they'll really enjoy the learning process. And then furthermore, he says he expects them to be able to show, and this he's talking about his daughter here, to show how to learn more about science on her own without him, to give her the mindset and skill to create new science, not just know old science. And I thought that was pretty cool because that's what we should be doing. We want to create the next generation of innovative thinkers. And yes, I think knowing the curriculum, knowing the actual content is important. But if they can't think for themselves and push that forward, then, we're going to be kind of stuck. So it is very important for us to be able to foster a love of like maybe a certain subject and let them be able to think for themselves and push themselves farther, not just the minimum of memorizing the content. I really liked this part of his blog, instead of his kids coming home at the end of the day and just asking how your day was, and they would talk about, well, I got an A on this test. I really liked the questions that he listed here, and I think this is something that I can incorporate with my own children, but also with my students, when we're asking reflective questions. What unanswered questions are you struggling with? Um, what's something your teachers learned today? I thought was a really cool question, because if they're seeing us learn something, then they get that process of making mistakes and experimenting with things. I always try to be really vocal with my mistakes in the classroom so that they can see me learning from my mistakes. There are a few things that I do in my classroom to try to promote a love of learning. One thing is called Genius Hour, and it's based off of Google's model that if you get 20% of the time to research and pursue one of your passions, that you'll be more productive. And we do it on Friday afternoons. And basically, students are able to choose anything that they want to research. Rules are that they have to be able to present it and that it cannot be a easily Googleable or searchable question. It needs to take, a lot of time to research and they should be able to delve deeper into it. A lot of the times it changes throughout the process, and it's really fun to see the kids really get into it. And I think it fosters really good creative learning processes because they're like, oh, I really wanted to research baseball, and they realized how big of an idea baseball is, and they're able to narrow it down and focus on one little thing with the help of me, of course. But it's really cool to watch them get really into that. Another thing we talk about is growth mindset. We learned about it in this course, and it's something I've been trying to instill in my students for a couple of years now. I give them talking stems, and we really focus on perseverance, not giving up, and just doing your best. So, one way that I model and teach learning is to be very vocal, like I said earlier, with my own mistakes, especially with all the new technology and new things that we're getting in. I don't know it all, and I'm honest with my students about that, and I just tell them we're going to be learning this together. We need to be patient with each other. I love it when they can help me and be a leader in the classroom. That makes me really happy. And I make sure I'm not embarrassed when I make a mistake. I said, okay, well, we learned something today. And I think that students really need to see that from our teachers. Another thing that to teach learning is just to give them choice, because I think it's important for them to have choice in their process, because it gives them some ownership of it. Okay. Love of learning is important because, first of all, if they aren't in love with the process of learning, then they're gonna give up easily. And I think that if they are pursuing a passion and have a goal, then they'll be overall better people and students, and it will be beneficial for them all throughout, junior high, high school, and their careers, whatever they choose, whatever path they choose. Part two is the idealist, where we're going to talk about my classroom in a perfect world. I think that I teach in Santee School District, which is a suburb of San Diego, and we have a lot of really good things going on there now, but of course it can always improve. So, in my perfect classroom, I would have support of all the parents. We are a Title I school where I'm at, and it really does affect the parent involvement. I think that if I have the support of parents, then behaviors decrease and education increases. So, in a perfect world, I would have the support of all the parents. Um, this sounds silly because I'm so lucky to have one-to-one iPads in my classroom, but unfortunately, there's so many programs that cannot be run on the iPad. Powtoon was what I use to do the digital citizenship. You can't use it on the iPad. So, in a perfect world, I would have technology that is compatible with all the programs that I want to use. Another thing that I would really like to see in my classroom is flexible seating and student choice. Right now, I don't have the money to buy all of these things, and our budget is $300 a year, and that includes all of the supplies for the kids. So um, that is not happening right now, but in a perfect world, it would be. I would love to see all my students engaged, even when they're working in groups, especially when they're working in groups. Um, I get a few students that are a little checked out, and in a perfect world, they would all love to be at school and love school. In my perfect classroom, I would have more books in my library. I've been growing it over the last 5 years that I've been teaching, but a lot of my books are older, and I would love to just have new books that the students were really interested in and really wanted to read because reading is so important. Okay, part 3. So the pragmatics. This is my plan. What am I going to do in my classroom to stay current and to evolve my classroom? In this next coming up school year that actually started today, I am going to be using Google Classroom. I used it a little bit last year and I loved it, but I went out on maternity leave, so I wasn't able to use it as much as I wanted to. I'm really excited to get into it this year and see all the collaboration and benefits that it can give to me and my students. Um, and another thing that I want to do this year is establish a positive parent and teacher relationship. I always try to be very open with the parents and always there when they need me, but I think I need to be more proactive about involving them and giving positive feedback for their students. And I think that will help a lot with the relationships I have with students and their parents. And then in the future, I'm going to try. I went back to that idealist kind of scenario, and I think that I can strive towards that. Maybe not perfection, but I think I can build my classroom library. Ask parents for donations, look for scholastic sales. We normally get a little bit of book money from that, and just do the best I can to be building my library over the next few years. I incorporate more flexible seating. I know we have a couple grants that I would be able to write for that. I've seen flexible seating in action, and I really think it would be great for the students instead of being stuck at a desk, as long as the behavior management aspect is enforced. And then the last thing that I really want to do over the next 2 to 3 years is collaborate more with other teachers. I'm at a very small school, so right now I'm the only fifth grade teacher. There is another fifth grade combo teacher that's new this year, but so I don't really I talk to the other teachers, but we're not planning together, and I think that's really important. I have a couple teacher friends from other schools, and I need to make that more of a focus because other teachers have such great ideas. So that is something I want to be doing over the next few years. Um, and with that, I think with the collaboration and getting the new ideas with all the PLNs that we did, these are a couple of the things where I get ideas from, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And Twitter is new for me. I just did it during this class, but I thought it was very helpful when following educators. Even though it's a little bit scattered for me, I found a lot of really good ideas on there um, that I wouldn't have necessarily searched for in a Pinterest search or something like that. I found really good Twitter what is it, users, Twitter users, educators that have really, really interesting thoughts and share interesting articles and ideas. So that's something I'm going to continue to do. Over Instagram, I started following some teachers that just post awesome ideas, and I actually found a couple that are in my own district. So that was great because now I have that like person to person contact as well. So that is my plan to stay current. I'm very excited to integrate all of these ideas in my classroom, and I'm just going to be realistic, but also just do the best I can. Thank you.